Workshop 1, a part of the Digital Literacy Workshop series. Today, we're going to be working on getting started with your digital literacy, and we have a fun workshop planned ahead of us today. So let's dive right in. So, for today's workshop, we're going to learn a bit about navigating desktops. We'll then talk about dynamic Google products, the whole entire Google product suite. And then we will have a full on workshop project that we'll produce together. We're going to be creating some automations with our digital literacy skills. Digital literacy, the intro portion of digital literacy will be fairly basic. Some of the things that we'll go over are some things you may be familiar with, such as building a Google form or building a Google Doc sheet. And then we'll focus on some more advanced skill sets by making automations to add content to our Google Doc and to our through our form. So there will be four steps that will follow for our project today. The first will be the basic portion, building the doc and the form, and the advanced portion will be making using make.com to make connections between these products. And step three will be integrating Brevo, which is a email campaign management software. We'll be integrating that into our project for today, as well as monday.com, which is a project management software today. Now, as for content, the content that we'll be reviewing as our session material will be a vocabulary sheet. If you would like to use that vocabulary sheet, it's been provided in the chat section here for the workshop, but it'll also be available at the bottom of the recording for this workshop as well. So let's dive into navigating desktops to get things started. So the computers that we use, they're manufactured by a handful of top companies. Those companies build and program those devices to operate on two different primary operating systems. The first being Apple, also known as Macintosh or Mac for short, and Windows. Windows operating systems are used for PCs, and Mac is used for Apple products. And there's a few different similarities, I mean, few differences, but also similarities between the tools that are available on these different operating systems. So for Apple, their word processing tool is Pages. For Windows, their word processing tool is Microsoft Word. I think a lot of us are familiar with Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint. But when you have an Apple computer and you're using the Mac operating system, by default, Pages is downloaded for word processing. For spreadsheets, Mac uses Numbers, whereas Microsoft uses Excel. For presentation software, Mac uses Keynote, where Microsoft uses, Apple uses Keynote, whereas Microsoft uses PowerPoint, and some subtle differences that you may see in maybe the keyboards for a Mac device compared to a Microsoft Windows device is that on the keyboard, you'll see that the controlling one of the main keys that are used with keyboard shortcuts are different. So on the Apple device, Command is the primary key that's used for most keyboard shortcuts. And on the Windows device, Control is used for most keyboard shortcuts. But one thing both of these devices have in common is that they both use Google products. So Google is very dynamic for the fact that it offers a huge variety of huge suite of products that empower pretty much the majority of our aspects of our lives. And what's great is that Google is compatible across a Mac operating system and a Windows operating system. And one thing I wanted to also highlight here is that I know most of us are familiar with docs and sheets and power and slides when it comes to Google products, but Google also can enable you to make calls via like Hangout or Google Meet. You can even make websites with Google products via Google Sites. So there's a lot of different devices. I mean, a lot of different things that you can use within Google's product suite in order to, get the results that you're looking for. So we're going to dive into the project for this week. So this week, we're going to automate adding content to a Google Sheet, to a Google document using a Google form. And after that content is added to the Google Doc, what we'll do is we'll use Brevo, which is a email campaign management software, to send whoever contributed to that Google document through the form a quick email that says thank you. And then we will also connect this process to Monday.com, which is a project management software, so that there is an update provided that lets the system know, or lets oh yeah, and I see in the chat, yes, and Google products are free. Thank you, Miss Aisha. Yes, and Google products are free. So going back to the previous slide, Google products are free, which is the one of the best features I like a lot about Google, because Microsoft Word and a lot of other softwares like Adobe, you have to pay subscriptions to use them. But going back to our project, we'll be integrating Monday.com, which is a project management software, into our workflow, so that after this process is complete, there's a notification that is, or an update that is added to the project that states that content was added. Now, some may ask, like, why would I want to do this? The reason why I bring this up to learn how to do this is because a lot of us understand the basics of making documents, but what can really help us maximize our time in making documents is automating them. And I think for parents and students, that are entrepreneurial, this can be something that helps you understand how to maximize your time, and also how to save in many ways that you might have not been able to save before, such as doing offloading different virtual tasks, mainly virtual tasks, so that you can really maximize your time and do more work for less cost. So to get things started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so that um, we can. There we go. I'm going to share my screen so that we can start working together. So let me minimize. Let me just organize some items here on my screen. Okay. And then we're going to go from here. In the chat, can you let me know if you can see my screen full, or do you see more so half of my screen? Let's see. Because as I minimize, I want to make sure. Is there an overlay? Okay, good. So we're in good shape. All right, great. You can see my screen entirely. So I'll go from here. Okay, great, great. All right, wonderful. So to kick things off, I'd like to talk a bit about what you see here on this screen, because in the document that is shared in the handout section, there's a vocabulary sheet that talks about the different aspects of a browser. And we bring this up because oftentimes people don't understand what they're navigating when they're using a computer. I noticed that a lot as an educator, that when I would tell students to type in, a web address into a web browser, they wouldn't know where to start, or oftentimes they would Google the platform that I was telling them to go to type in the browser, and they would oftentimes uh, they would oftentimes just Google it and then click whatever search results came up. Now I notice here on the top screen that the browser section actually doesn't appear here. So I will articulate what elements I'd like to point out, and I will add a visual to these elements in the handout so that you guys can see them better after this workshop. But what I wanted to point out first, and you may see on the worksheet, is are some of the key terms. So, for instance, desktop. Desktop is that main screen that you see when you turn on your computer that allows you to see all the see all the apps, files, and folders and shortcuts that are stored to your device. The operating system. We talked about operating system. That is the program that your device operates through. And what we're looking at right now is a web browser. So this browser that we're looking at, that is basically a window that opens up whenever a internet app opens. And in that browser is the display. So right now, the display window is displaying a search bar that oftentimes people mistake for the address bar, but this is really the search bar. It displays the search bar where you can type in keywords, but the address bar, you can look on your own device, actually appears at the top of the display window, and that is where you type in a URL, which is a website address. I bring that up because we'll be using some link or some content out of the URL in our workshop today. So I'm going to dive into the first platform that we're going to use. And again, the handout that we have, provided, it has more details on what a URL is, an address bar, search bar, and so forth. So to get things started, ideally, I would have liked to type this inside the address bar so that you can see that, but I'll type the URL here into the search bar. And in Google, actually, in Chrome, the search bar and the address bar are one and the same. And I think that's where some of the confusion comes into play when people are trying to navigate their browser. The search bar and the address bar are the same for Google Chrome. So to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to type in drive.google.com, and we're going to go to Google Drive. Now, when we're here, there's some things that I'd like to highlight here. We're going to actually start off by creating a folder for our workshop so that we are really organized with our work. And one thing that I'll point out next is the file pathway. You'll see that that's a vocabulary term on the vocabulary sheet that's been provided. So one moment. So first, to start with our project, let's add a new folder. Let's start there. So I'm going to add a new folder by clicking the plus new button at the top, and I'm just going to name it Workshop Practice. Okay. And it'll appear here in our drive. So what we're looking at here is our drive, and we click this new button up here at the top left corner in order to add a new folder or a new item. There's a variety of things we can add. We can add docs, sheets, slides, forms, and we'll do that again shortly. But before we do that, we'll click into our workshop practice folder. You can name yours anything you like, but I named mine workshop practice folder. I see a comment in the chat. If you don't have a Google account, can you still access Google Drive? No, I don't believe so. I think you have to have a Google. I think you do have to have a Gmail account in order to access Google Drive. Now you can access files from Google Drive without having a Google account, but new in order to create new folders or to create any content on Google Drive, you do have to have an account. So if you do not have an account, you can still go to drive.google.com and it'll redirect you to create an account. And that information for your account will appear here. So for me, I'm already signed in, but if I wasn't signed in, there would be an option here where I can add an account or create a new account so that I can access Google Drive. And it's really, really quick. It's a really quick process. Thank you for that question. So from this folder, I've created a workshop practice folder. One thing I want to point out is this section up here at the top that says Drive, and then it says My Drive, and then it says Workshop Practice. So this section right here, this is technically the file pathway. It's showing you what folders need to be opened or where the location of your file is. And this is going to be important for our workshop today. So to get things, to dive into our project, what we're going to do after we've made our workshop practice folder, we're going to now make a we're going to make a form, because what we're doing is we're making a form so that we can add information to our document. And from our document, that there will be a confirmation provided to the person who contributed the content. So to add a form, we're going to click plus, and we're going to add a form here. And what you'll see open up is a new tab. So in the file, in the vocab sheet, there is a tab there's a vocabulary form that says tab, and it explains that this is an area where multiple display windows can appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to sharing this tab so that you can see it. And what you should have seen is a new tab open up where there is a Google form. Now, before I move forward, I do want to make sure everyone is following along. Am I moving at a understanding a decent pace? And is there an understanding of what where I am and whatever you're doing at this point? For one moment. I don't want to move too fast. Okay. All right, I'll move forward. So to start things off for this project, we're going to simply just create a little form, because this form, and we'll name it workshop practice, this form is going to be used to add content to a Google Doc. And what information we'll want from the person who's adding content to our Google Doc, we'll want their name. And you'll see in Google Forms that when you add in certain features to the questions that you're asking, it'll automatically change the format of the question. And right here, I'm going to click the duplicate button because that's an easy way for me to add more information. The second piece of information I'll ask for is the email. The third piece of information will be someone's age. And for the last piece of information, I'm going to ask the person to provide a link to an image, and I'm going to put some instructions in here. Now, I already have this content available, so you don't have to copy everything that I do with creating, the settings that are in this form. But I do want to put this information in there so that as we, visit it, anyone ever revisits it, it's available. So what I'm going to put here is just some information for someone to provide a link to a picture of your favorite animal. And I'm going to provide some instructions here that I've already pre-created. Okay. So to add these instructions, I'm going to activate the description option. And again, these are things that I'm moving through this quickly because these are things that a good amount of us already know. So the real skill here is in the automation. So I know that some of us don't need a tutorial on how to make a Google form. Some of us don't need a tutorial on how to use Google Docs. But the skill set here that we're learning is how to automate these two platforms using make.com. So from here, I have a simple form. I've added some fields for someone to add a name, add an email, add their age, and also provide a link to a picture of their favorite animal. That'll be the information that is added to the Google Doc that we're going to have people contribute to. Now that I have my form set up, I'm going to change some settings here. I'm going to make sure that people aren't restricted in terms of who can provide information. And I also want to link a sheet to our form. So I'm going to go back to my folder. And I'm going to refresh this real quick just so the name of the form appears there. And we're going to add a sheet for our form to be connected to. So I'm gonna go add Google Sheet, and I'm gonna name this sheet work practice sheet, workshop practice sheet. Okay, leave that there. I'm gonna go back here. So I've created a sheet and I've titled it workshop practice sheet. Hold on, give me a moment so that these things can come together. There we go. All right, so back to my drive. Our sheet titled workshop practice sheet is available. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my tab that has my form and I'm gonna click link to sheets. So now I can link the information from my form to an existing spreadsheet, which is the one that we just created. And then I'm gonna click select. And then I'm gonna connect it to my new sheet that's titled workshop practice sheet. And then hit insert, and then it should be linked. And then what I'll see is my worksheet will pop up in a new tab. And I mean, my workshop practice sheet will pop up in a new tab. And now the fields for this form appear so that new information can be added to this sheet. Additionally, I will not dive deeper into the basics of Google Sheets because I think a lot of us understand how to add in cells. The skill that we're focusing on here is automation. Now, in other tutorials that are associated with this workshop series, that come after this workshop series, we can go in more depth regarding the Google Docs, Sheets, and Forms. But today we're going to focus on automation because I think once you see the end product, it'll be pretty cool. All right. So now the last piece of information or the last document that we'll need to create is our document. So Google Docs or add new Google Docs. And we're just going to simply name the document that pops up. We're just going to name it Workshop Practice Doc. Okay. So now that we have these three things created, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to make.com. So I'm going to open a new tab, which appears at the top of the browser above the address bar. I'll open a new tab and I'm gonna go to make.com. So in the search bar here, I could type in make.com and it'll take me right to the website. Now for make.com, as requested in the previous workshop, please make sure you have an account created for each platform so that it's easier for you to, navigate. So make.com is an automation platform. It's a platform that helps you link together different apps. And what we're going to do today is we're going to link together Forms to Docs to Brevo to Monday. So we got a ways to go, and we have quite a bit of time left in our workshop. So we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get the rest of it completed. It was asked in the chat, why didn't you let the form create a new worksheet? That is an option. So let me take a step back. In the Google form here, I'm going to switch to this tab. In the Google form, right here, there was a button that said link to sheets. Right now it says view in sheets. I could have made a spreadsheet directly through the sheet, but I did want to just show the process of how to link a sheet just in case you wanted to understand how to make that connection. So yes, you can automatically make the form create a sheet so that it just automatically does it. But I did also want to show like what it entails if you have an existing sheet that you want to add information to. So it's just a bit of a nuance. I'm glad you guys like the workshop. All right, so I'm going to, where was I? Make. All right, so I'm gonna go back to make.com. Now in Make, if you don't already have an account, you can click login and log in with Google. And to get started, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a scenario. So at the top right corner of the screen, there's a button that says create a new scenario. And I'm gonna click that button. And then what you'll see here is a open workspace where you can add and connect different apps to one another. So I'm going to click this plus button, and down here where it says search applications, I can type in the application that I want to connect. So right now I want to connect Google Forms. And what you'll see when you type in your app, you see all these different options of what you can do with the application. So I can search through a form, I could create a form. So that previous question that we just had about why didn't I create a form? I mean, create a well, actually, no, I'll take a step back. In our previous step, when we created a form, we actually could have just came straight to make.com and created the form here as well. But I wanted to like navigate from what we're familiar with versus just throwing us into a new platform. But there's so many things that you can do. You can create forms, get forms, you can list responses. In this case, we're gonna click the option to watch a response because what we want our platform to do or our automation to do is we want it to watch out for different responses. So from here, after you've selected Google Forms as the app that you would like to create a new connection with, click Watch Responses. And then what you'll see pop up, and you can move it as well, is you'll see the options for creating, your first connection. And what I'll do here is click search so that I can find my form. But before I do that, I just want to highlight right here where it says connection. It was asked previously in the workshop, do you need a Gmail account to use Google Drive? Yes. And more importantly, in order to connect apps through Google Drive, you need to have a Google account on it so that you can do that here on make.com. So my Google account is already connected, and I'm going to go down here to where it says Form ID, and I'm going to search for my document. Now I'm going to try something. If I type in my document title, I wonder if this will work. It may not. No, it's not going to work. So what I actually need to obtain, and it's somewhat difficult to see because you can only see like the top of you can only see my screen. You can't necessarily see my address bar. But what you're looking for in order to find the form ID is actually a set of numbers that appears in the URL link for the form. So what you have to do is go back to your Google form, and then at the top of the screen where the website address is for your form, you'll see like and I'll actually type it in. I'll type it in. I'll take a quick picture real quick and add it into the Google Doc just so you guys can see this. So I'm just gonna hack some things real quick just so you can see what I'm talking about. Give me one moment. Because I wasn't aware that this wouldn't appear in the workshop, in the browser. So I'm just going to hack it real quick and show you what I mean. So inside, in the tab, what you're looking for is the information that's right in the middle of the web address for your form. So you're looking for a series of letters and numbers that makes up your form's URL address. And I'm going to highlight, to do one even better, I'm going to highlight the form ID in this so that you can see it even better. Here we go. So inside the web address or the URL address for your form, the form ID is actually this series of numbers and letters that appears between the backslashes in the middle of your web address or your URL address. So you're going to take those numbers and letters, you're going to copy it. You can right click on your mouse, or you can do Control C if you're on a Windows device, or Command C if you're on an Apple device. And you're going to take those letters and numbers, and you're going to copy it, and you're going to paste it into the Form ID section on your or actually you'll click search. You could paste it in Form ID, but you'll have to click search anyways, and then click OK. You type it, you'll put it into where it says document title. You'll click OK, and then what'll happen is, uh-oh, it should search it up for you. For me, it's not trying to find mine, so give me one moment. Refresh form. And sometimes with make.com, you really just have to give it a couple of times to help, to navigate. But eventually it gets to working. So let's see. So mine isn't trying to work. And it's still not trying to work for me. So I'm just gonna have to take a step back and just try again. It's all you can do is try again. Watch responses, form ID. Dang, still not finding my form. So let's see. So I'm not trying to find my form. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna find a previous form that I used and we'll go from there. Okay. Hopefully on your end, your form is working better than mine. Because for some reason, mine is not trying to work for me right now, but it's okay. Ugh, what? Hmm. So I'm just troubleshooting right now, repeating the step. Let's see, module is not set up. Okay. And I'll hack this one more time. If it doesn't work, I'll just have to go off of the demo link that I already have. Yeah, it's not trying to work for me. Okay. So I'm just gonna have to go off of what I already have created just to move this process along so that we don't take up too much of our workshop time. So what you'll do is what you'll have to find is the workshop, the form, the form ID, which is inside the URL address your for the form that you created. It can be found in the it's you can be found in the URL address, and then what you can do is you can put the number of you can put the number of results that you would like to be reviewed for each transaction that is or each cycle that is executed. After you do that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna test our one moment. Okay. After you do that, what you'll do is then add a Google Docs module. So to do that, you can type in Google Docs. My computer is just not trying to work right now. I'm not in the middle of a workshop. All right. So the next thing that you'll do, and I'm hoping that yours is working way better on your end. I think I've just had my computer on. I think I was just setting I've had my computer on pretty much all day, and it's just not trying to function for me right now. So what next thing that you would do is you would add a Google Docs module. So to do that, you would type in where it says search application at the bottom, you would type in Google Docs. I already have it pulled up because it's already a part of my module. But what you'll do is you'll look for the option to insert a paragraph to a document. So what I already had here, I'll open it in a moment, but I just want to review like the different things that you can add to your document. You can watch documents to see different edits. You can list documents. You can get content from a document. You can add information like text information. You can add images to a document. You can replace images. You can download a doc. There's a lot of things you could do with Google Docs with Make.com. In this case, we're going to add and insert a paragraph to a document module. Now, when you do that, and the reason why I actually wanted to pull up a new one, and I just may still so that it's easier to follow because mine is already populated with a bunch of information. I'm gonna add in the new one up here just to make it easier, and I'll unlink it. So let me zoom out. I'm gonna unlink it from this. By the way, you can right click on these different modules as you connect them or as you make them, and you can okay, so when you add in the insert Google Doc module, and what I'll do is I'll just recreate it right on top of the one that I already have just to like, limit confusion and keep things on pace. So what you do is you click on, okay, cool. So what you would do is you add in the insert a paragraph to a document module, and then you find the document that you'd like to add content to. So it says select a document. It could be by drop down or it could be by mapping. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to do it through drop down, and this brings me back to pathways. So you're going to use the drop down option to select a file from your drive. So you're choosing from your drive, which is already by default selected. And then right here it says click here to choose a file. So to do that, you have to be mindful of your pathways. So where is the document saved? So to I'm going to go back to our screen that has our folder, and this is the pathway. So from your drive, you will select the workshop practice folder, and in the workshop practice folder is the document that we're looking for. Right here it says untitled, but it technically it's titled workshop practice document. So yeah, here we go. I refreshed it, so now it works. So my drive, workshop practice, and then workshop practice doc. That's the pathway that we're going to follow to find our document in make.com. So coming back to make.com, we have, and I'm going to zoom out on the work so I can make this a little bit bigger. Good. So we're going to click here where it says click here to choose a file. And then we're going to go to our workshop practice folder. It's already here. And then you're going to click this plus button. And then what'll pop up are the options for the documents that you can choose from. And what's here is our workshop practice document. Boom, already there. And then after we've done that, two more fields that are gonna pop up that are gonna say like, do you want to insert a paragraph? Where do you want to insert it? So in this case, I want to add it to the body of the document. So I'm going to leave it as follows. But I could specify a location. So if I wanted to put it, let's see what happens. If I wanted to pick a specific location by ID, index or segment ID, that's a bit more advanced. I'd have to do more research to inform people on how to really navigate that. But it's technically code. Like You can identify the code terms for elements on your Google Doc and specify that you want that content to go there. But we want to put it in the body of our document. We can even put it in the header or the footer, but we're going to put it in the body. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to type in some text to frame what I want my information to say. So in our form, we ask the person for their name, and we also ask them for their age. So I'm going to have those be the two pieces of information that I want added to the document. But right here on the left side of the screen, a whole world of information just popped up that I can use in my connection. Now, mine is filled with a lot of information now because it's already connected to other parts of this scenario. But for you, what you should predominantly only see um, is this section here that says Google Forms from you adding the watch responses module. And what you would do is you're going to find the information that you want to add into this connection. So from our answers, the question of what is your name, we're going to find the text answer and then click underneath where it says text answer. We're going to click the arrow next to the word answer, and we're going to put in our value. And you'll see the automation, the data or information for the automation pops up. And we're going to do the same thing with age. So the question that says, what is your age? The text answer, the answer, and the value of that text answer. That's what we're going to add here. Now, after you've done that, you technically could hit OK, and then that module will be created. So I'm going to actually unlink this and delete this one on my end because I already have this, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to open up and show you what it looks like on my end. So here I have my Google account that it's connected to, the file, the document ID, which is basically where the file lives. Yours will look a little bit different. And the name and the age. So this is the text that's going to be added to my doc. Now, after that, we're going to want to add in the image too. So to add in an image, you can click Google Docs down here. And then what you'll click is insert an image to a document. So right here, it says insert an image to a document. That is the module you're going to add to this workflow. And then it's very similar. Your Google account is already connected. You already have, you actually can leverage the previous module. You can map information from the previous module to this module in order to drag in the identification for the document that you're using, which is what I did here. So where it says document ID, all I did was I went to the module that insert a paragraph to a document Google Docs module, and I selected the document ID to then appear here so that I don't have to go through that process of trying to find where the file is as I did before in the previous module. I just linked it. And then where it says image URL, so we're inserting an image to the document, we're appending it to the document, and where it says image URL, I did something very similar to the previous module, where I went to the information that's related to the responses to my Google form, and I found the question that's related to adding in the link to the image. So I click down here where it says preview a link to, or provide a link to the picture. And then I went to the answer for that question, which is technically a text answer because we asked them for a link, which is text. I click again where it says answer, and then I select the value. I select the value for the answer to that question so that it can populate the content for that portion of my document. So what I'm gonna do real quick before we dive into Brevo, and I think we're making good time. We have about like 30 more minutes left in this workshop. So before we dive into Brevo, what you can do is you can test your connection, okay? And to test your connection, what you should do is go to your form. So I'm gonna go to this form and I'm gonna click preview so that a preview of my form appears. And I'm just going to type in the information that I'm going to fill it out as someone filling out the form. So my name, I'm gonna put a fake email. I'll put we are tech, and we're gonna test this a couple of times. So the first couple of times, you use fake emails, but the last time when we actually want to see that everything fully works, you actually should use your real, real email so that you can get the email and see if it works. All right. So down here, we're looking for, we have to just get an image link. So I'm going to follow the steps that are provided in my form, get an image. My favorite animal is a cheetah. So I'm going to, just find pictures of cheetahs. I'm going to click on the image and I'm going to right click on the image. And I know that doesn't appear in the browser here because of how it's being streamed, but you would right click the image, hit copy image address. And this is just my form. This is how I set up my form. And then I'm going to paste in the image address so that I can make it work. And then I'm going to hit submit. So now that my form is submitted, what I should now see in my document that is titled, that is linked to my scenario on Brevo, I mean, not on Brevo, on make.com, is I should see my name, my age, and the picture that I put into my my name and my age that I put into my Google form, it should all appear at in the document. Okay, so let's see. All right. So I submitted my form. So let's go back here. So I've submitted my form. And now I should make my integration run so that I can see that it works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit run once down here at the bottom. And then what I should see is success. I should see green, 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 and green. Now we're not this far in terms of like Monday.com, but what you should see is this right here. You should see green, green, green. And if you see all greens, that means when you go to your Google Doc, you should see the information from your form that was submitted on the form appear in the Google Doc. So you should see the name of the person, the age, and the picture. If you decided to integrate a field for adding in a picture in your form, you should see that all appear here in your in the document. So what you're looking at is the connection between what was submitted on the form being automatically added to the Google Doc through the scenario that you created on Brevo. Now, I know this is somewhat advanced, so feel free to, comment and reach out and let me know if you would like simpler automations, or if you want more advanced automations, we can do that as well. So the next couple of steps that we're going to get to is we're going to add in Brevo. We're going to add in our Brevo integrations. So Brevo is basically a campaign management software. And Brevo is a lot like MailChimp. I know a lot of people know how to use MailChimp, and I do believe Make.com has integrations with MailChimp. But we're gonna get into Brevo. So I'm gonna open up a new tab and I'm gonna type in brevo.com. And then I'm gonna log in. I'm already logged in. So I'm just gonna go to my account dashboard. Again, if you don't have an account, please make one so that it's easier to follow along in the workshops. Now on Brevo, we're going to, one thing I want to point out is when you're making a Brevo connection, you actually need to use the API. Now on the vocab sheet, there is a vocabulary term for API. I have a question in the chat. It says, since the form may collect 10 to 20 responses, will it create a new page for each response in the docs? That's a good question. No, it will not. It will just automatically add the information right underneath the previous information. So it won't create a new page. It'll just add all the information in. So the core of what we're learning today is, so I'm going to go to this form real quick. I mean, this document real quick. So the way this information would appear, and actually, um, the way it would appear is it would look as if it would appear like right underneath here. So when the next person fills out the form, it's just going to go right underneath. Now, the core of learning how to do this automation is really just for populating information. You still would have to go in here and style it the way you'd like to. And because I know some people know a lot about styling and they're more familiar with Google Docs, I wanted to lean more into the automation aspect in this tutorial. But following this tutorial or following this series, we are going to dive deeper into these tools of like how to style with docs, how to use spreadsheets. But this is just this series is a introductory series to expose people. Um, so back to Brevo. So in Brevo, one thing before we go to make.com and add our connection, in order to make your connection, you're going to have to get your API. Now, an API is basically a software that is used to connect two different tools, two different softwares. It's used to connect data from one software to the next. And to find your API for Brevo, you would find it at the top right corner in your dashboard. So you would click on your account name at the top right, and then you would click STM or SMTP and API. You would click on that, and then it's going to take you to this page where you can select the term API keys right here. And then what you'll do is you'll click the button that says generate a new API key. You name it. I'm just going to name it new API. And then you would click generate, and then you have to copy it. So once you've copied that API, you have what you need to then make the connection from Google Docs to Brevo on make.com. So you can copy it, paste it, on a document if you like, so that you don't, lose it. Like I could paste it on this document real quick, just so I can like keep note of it. I like to keep detail like that, so I'm gonna paste it right there just in case I need it again or I accidentally don't have it anymore. Okay, so next thing that we'll do, and I already have the connections here, but the next thing that you would do, since you don't have Brevo in your Make dashboard again, I'm gonna go back to our Make dashboard. So the next thing that you would do, since you don't have Brevo in your Make dashboard, you would search for it down here. You would click the plus button and search for it, and then the app will pop up. You click on the app, and what we're gonna select is the option to create a contact. Okay, so we're gonna select the option to create a contact. Now there's gonna be a little bit of back and forth here, but I wanted you to get this item on your workspace so that you can understand how to use your API. And I know I'm moving a bit fast, but the beautiful thing about recordings is you can stop this and go back. So the first thing that you would do when you add this new module for creating a contact on Brevo, and the reason why we're creating a contact is so that we have the information that the information of the person who filled out the form, we have it saved in our system in order to contact them. So in this module, you would click add. And right now, you can name the connection. Mine is just called My Brevo Connection. I think that's like the default connection name. And then here is where you would paste your API key. Now, I'm going to remove this because I already have an API key connected to this, but what you would do is you would paste that API key and click save. So I'm going to delete it because I already have mine connected and I don't want to confuse the system. But you would paste that API and click save. Now, down here, you're going to do something similar to what we did in the previous modules. You're going to find the information from your Google form connection in this scenario space, and you're going to link it into the fields that you would like to use in the contact information for this person. So for email, you would go to The response, you would go to the question that says, what is your email? You would go down to the text answer for that question, click answer, and then click the value. And then I'm not going to do last name right now, but for first name, same thing. You would go to the response, go to their name, go to the text answer, go to the answer section, and then click on where it says value right there. And now you've automatically populated for that contact their email and their first name. Now down here, there's a section that says lists. And if you're new to Brevo, your by default, you have a folder that says your first folder, and you can click that, and that's where the contact will be saved. But if you don't want to use that folder, you can go back to Brevo, go to contacts, and you can create you can see actually my connections are already in here, but you can I'm gonna filter this so that everybody's content isn't up here. But you can create you can add in folders here. You can create contacts here. You can filter by folders. There's a lot of ways to use this platform in a way where you can basically sort out your information for people. But I'm going to click where it says lists, and you can create a list. So I already have a list where it says like workshop contacts. That's where I'm going to save this person's contact information. But you can create a list and save the list of information there. And as I shared before, by default, every Breville account automatically has a your first folder. So for time's sake, if you don't want to add a new folder, you can just click where it says your first folder. And then once you've done that, you can click OK. And then that first connection is created. Now test our we can test our connection here if we'd like, but for time's sake, I'm going to move on to the next module. And what we'll do is we'll test the next two modules together. So the next module that we're going to add is the send an email module. So to do that, so we've already saved our content. We've created our contact. Now you're going to click Brevo again down here at the bottom, and you're going to click the option to send an email. But there's so many things you can do. If you look into this, you can like list, get a contact, add existing contacts. We've kind of gone through that a bit. You can get a list, create a list, get a folder, create a folder, list email campaigns, create an email campaign, update them. You can even send text messages. So if you collect someone's number from a form, you can set up these modules to send someone a text message. And that is key for when you're like trying to organize people, or say you're trying to launch an app and you want to engage people. Like, you can collect information from people and automate ways to communicate with them so that you're not worried about keeping up with your following or engaging people. You can automate it. So we're going to select the option to send an email, because what we want to do is, after someone fills out our form and that form adds the content from, the system adds the content from the form into our document, we want to send them a little email that says thank you. So you click on send an email, and what you would do, you'll see by default your Brevo connection is up there. You're gonna, you can just by default put name as either the name of the person, or you can, you can go back down here to this information and find their name. But I just put receiver for short. Email, you would get their email from the Google form information. So all we're doing here is constantly mapping information. And I see in the chat, text is important. Are you using the free or paid version of Brevo for this? I am using the free version. This is why I use Brevo, because Brevo allows you to do a lot of things for free. So in response to that question, oh, and I'm sorry, I just realized this whole time that I was talking about adding this Brevo module, I was actually on Brevo.com and not Make.com. So let me go back to Brevo real quick, because I do want to show the usage and plan settings. You can basically you can get credits to use text messages. You can get credits for emails, and with the free plan, it automatically comes with 290 or 300 emails, I believe, per month. So I'm using the free option. I think for text, you actually do have to get more credits, but that's all available in the pricing section. So uh, yeah, I see what you mean. Someone in the chat said you're still seeing the list section. Yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry about that. So let me go back. Let me take it back a bit. So from what I was saying about adding a send an email module, the way you would do that is you would click the Brevo button, you would click send an email, and all those features I was talking about while I was on the other screen by accident, they're all here available. But the one we're going to is send an email. So you click on send an email, it opens up this option. Here you would add in the name of the person that you want to send the email to. You can get that information from the Google form, or you can just type in receiver, it's all fine. The email, you would get that email from the Google form information. So going back to the question that says, what is your email? Finding the text answer, and then adding in the value of that text answer. Very similar to how we mapped information from our form into our docs. It's the same way we're going to map information from our form into a Brevo email message. From here, you would type in the subject. I'm just going to simply type in thank you. You add in, whatever content you would like the email to have. I'm just putting a quick little message that says thank you for adding content to our campaign. The reply to section, you can put your name, you can put your email, whatever email address you would like people to be able to reply to after they get this email. That is the email address you would put in there. Now, a very important setting here is the advanced settings, because what will happen is if you try to test this and you don't uh, edit some of the advanced settings, the email will not go through. So the most important advanced setting that you need to make sure is uh, populated is the sender. So on my end, I'm just going to put in for sender the name, the info team for my company, and then I'm going to put in the email info at wearetech.education. Once I have those things set up, I have the email of the person that the message is going, email address for the who the message is going to. I have the subject and the text body of what the message is going to be. I have my information on who the reply to contact is, and then I have my sender information. I am good to go. So I'm going to click OK. And now I can test my integration again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, go back to my form. I'm going to submit another response. And one thing to note, if you're testing everything with your email address, which is perfectly fine, when you when you fill out this form and you start to populate contacts on Brevo, do not, you'll see that you can't use the same email over and over. So if you're using your own email and you keep testing, there's going to be a blockage that appears because you already have your email saved to to your to your contact list. So I'm going to actually show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to actually fill out this form with the contact that I already have. So I'm going to just show you what I mean. I'm going to show you how a blockage happens. So right now I have a contact in here that has this email address, b@wearetech.education. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Google form and I'm going to fill out my form with that email address again so that you can see how the blockage can happen and why it can be frustrating. So I'm gonna put in my picture of my cheetah address, and then I'm gonna hit submit. And then I'm gonna go to my Brevo connection and I'm gonna show you how this thing blocks. So I'm gonna hit run once again. Boom, boom, cool, great. Boom, right here where it says So everything went green until it said create a contact. And the reason why, contact already exists. So when you're testing your integrations, make sure you go to Brevo and you delete any contact that has the same contact that you're about to test with, because it's going to make it very frustrating. It's a little tedious, you know? So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to my Google form, and I'm just going to submit another response just so I could test my email out and see if my email actually appears. So I've deleted my original email from Brevo so that there isn't a blockage. And I'm going to submit this form. Boom, submitted it. Now I'm going to run my integration again. And let's see. Boom, green, 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 green. Yes. So this worked. Now what I should see in my document, is the information twice. Well, actually 3 times, because I did run it quite a few times. But that's what it looks like when you run the information over and over. The more form submissions that you get, it's just going to keep populating each time you run the execution. So that appeared, but now I need to check my email and see if my email went through. So I'm just going to open up my email real quick. And what do I see? Boom, right there at the top of my inbox is the wonderful email that I sent myself. And you can see I've tested this quite a few times, but for this transaction, it just came in. It says 0 minutes. It literally just came in. So it works. This works. So the last thing we're gonna do, and we're making good time. We have about like 20 minutes left in this workshop. The last thing that we're gonna do is we are going to go to monday.com, and we're going to make our Monday integration. So what we are going to set up is a little notification that adds to our Monday layout. And basically, after everything is completed, there should be a little update that says, hey, new information has been added from this user. So I'm going to go to monday.com. Monday.com. Now, a brief introduction to Monday. This is a lot. I know this is very overwhelming. This is a lot of information. The main things to understand about Monday.com is the layout. It is organized by workspaces. So your workspaces appear here. So this is a workspace. These are all your workspaces. Within workspaces, there are boards. So I'm going to open up the board within this workspace. Excuse me. Within your boards, there are groups. And within those groups, there are items. So your items are your tasks. And in each item, there are sub items. Now, if you have not used Monday before, I'm going to just do a brief rundown of like just how dynamic. It's a lot, but the basics of this platform is just very brilliant. Like, you can make different items, which are basically tasks for what you want people to do. You can assign those tasks to a specific person. You can update the status for those different tasks, and you can set a date to when those tasks should be complete. So this is like the ultimate. Work project management. And someone in the chat said Monday is similar to Trello, Asana, and a few other project management tools. Yes, it is. Yeah. And the reason why I bring up Monday is because Monday, in terms of working in the tech industry, Monday has a Scrum layout, and Scrum is like the leading it's the leading format for project management in tech. So I wanted to highlight this so that you can at least become familiar with how to organize tasks incrementally. So what we're gonna do, because I know we have about like 15 more minutes left, we're gonna go to Monday. We're gonna go back to Brevo, and we're gonna add in two more modules. And I'm gonna be very swift with this because I don't want the session to expire or turn off. I hope it doesn't, but we'll see. So you're gonna add in Monday. So you're gonna click this button where it says search applications. You're gonna type in Monday. I already have it here. You're gonna click on Monday. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a module that says list group items, because what we wanna do is we want to list the items that are within the group. So in our platform, or in our workspace, in our workspace board, I've created a group that it still just says group title, but I added an item that says community content. And under that item, there's two different sub items that are just instructional, stating like what are some of the tasks that need to be done. But basically in Make, I'm gonna ask Make to find this group of items. So it's gonna find the list of group items. And actually, similar to Brevo, you have to make the API connection as well. So let me go up here to the top right corner. So at the top right corner, when you click administration, you can then go to where it says connections, click API, and then you can hit regenerate and you can get a new API key so that you can connect it to Monday as well. So you would find the list group items section. So if you haven't done so already, click add, type in Monday. Once you have Monday pop up, you're gonna type in, or you're gonna look for, you can even type it in, but you're gonna search for list of groups. Yep, list of groups items. You click that, it adds the module. Up here where it says add, this is where you would put in your API key and hit save. You can then you can put a limit on how many results pop up. I wouldn't worry too much about that. The key things here is to select the board ID. Now the board ID, it'll come up when you click the downward menu, and it'll show the name of the board that you are working with. So in this case, I'm working off my workshop demo board. Group title, or you would find the title of the group. In this case, the group title is called group title. And then from there, you would just click OK. And now the second module, so what you've done is you've selected the group of items that you want to work with in this integration. And what we want to do in working with these group items, we want to add an update to them. So we'll go to Monday again, hit create and update, select that option. And then when we click on it, it's a little bit more minimized, which is great. So we'll type in, what'll appear is the connection will be here, the item ID. Now to find this item ID, basically all you have to do is click on this field right here, and you'll see all the information from the previous Monday module. And you're just gonna click where it says ID, because the item is the group item, and you want to select the ID for that group item. So you click ID, and that tells the system to identify that group in order to add an update to it. And then you would type in whatever information you want to be in that update. So in this case, I just want a little message that says, new content has been added from. I want to indicate that it's been added from the person who submitted the form. So what I did here is I found the name of the person who submitted the form from the form information from the first module we ever added here on make.com. So I went to their name, I went to the text information for their name, for the answer, and then the value, and I clicked that, and now it populates that information into our update. So this is a full-on a full-on integration from the form to adding the information to the doc to sending the contact information to Brevo to send them an email to then giving us an update on Monday. So what I'm going to do again for the last time, I'm going to add in, and I'm going to triple check my contacts on Brevo so that I can make sure this works well. So let me actually show you how I'm doing that just so I'm gonna take out any contact information that I've used previously in my testing just so that I don't get a red flag or an error signal. Just triple check that those contacts that I want to test with aren't there. All right, great. So I'm gonna move on back to my form. So I'm going to type in my name, my email, which automatically pops up, my age, and then I'm going to put in that link for the image of the cheetah that I want to be populated into my document. And just to end this process clean, I'm going to clean up this form real quick. I mean, clean up my document real quick before I run this, just so it appears looks good on you guys' end. So bear with me. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so I'm going to submit this form, make sure everything's right, so everything goes through. I'm going to hit submit. And now I'm going to go back to Brevo. I mean, not to Brevo, to Make. And then I'm going to hit run once again. Hit run. And then I should get all, so I hit run once again. And now I should hit all green. Good. I got all green. My form worked. Oh, it looks like my contact didn't work. It says contact already exists. So duplicate parameters. So let's see. There was an error. So let's fix this error before things go south because we want to end on a high note. Okay. So it looks like I have a duplicate. So let me go to Brevo real quick and just triple, quadruple check that I don't have a duplicate. Okay, I'm gonna delete. I'm gonna go and delete anything that's related to my name and my email address from Brevo so that I can really knock this out the park. So that's what I'm doing on the back end, just deleting any of my contact information so that everything can be clean and straightforward. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Brevo and show you guys what I'm doing on Brevo real quick. So I'm just refreshing my contact list and I'm gonna type in my name to see if it doesn't appear. Good, no email. Let me type in the email that I used, or that I want to use so that it doesn't, so I could be sure that it doesn't appear. Okay, good. So I should be all green. So let's run this one more time. So from my last form submission, I'm not going to submit the form again. I'm just going to operate off the last form submission. I should be able to. I'm going to hit run once. And let's see if I get all greens. It's still giving me a red. Still giving me a red. So I'm going to type in a whole different email so that I don't get this negative mark because I want this to run smoothly. It looks like it's sending me the email, but I want you guys to see how everything looks good. Okay, so I'm going to use a different email address. Okay. So I'm going to submit this form one more time with a different email address just to like make this completely work. Okay. So I don't want any crazy notifications. I want everything to be green for things to work and to, really show the end result of how well this can work. So I'm gonna hit run once. We got a green. Yeah, I'm still getting a red. Here is something that has happened that I noticed that I actually am not fully aware of how to change. So what I've noticed happens sometimes with, I'm going to share the screen. So I ran this one more time and I'm still getting the notification that the email address that I'm trying to use already exists. Now, one thing I've noticed is that sometimes with make.com, the data will, it's hard to remove the data from the history of the execution history. So that's one thing that I've noticed that is challenging, but that I'll have to, hack offline. But for the most part, what we've created here is a fully functioning, although this is still giving me the notification that the new contact already exists, for the most part, this integration works. And I would like to show you the end result of this integration. So what we have here is we've created a form that populates a document with the form submissions, and it has worked consecutively. So what we have here is a form that has populated a document with form submissions consecutively, and it is added contact information from the form to our Brevo account. And from our Brevo account, after it submitted that information to the Brevo account, it sent an email to our end user letting them know, sending them a thank you message for submitting their information. So we've gone from adding information to a form or adding information via form to a document. Great, wonderful. And I see in the chat someone says, if you want to enter my email address to show it working all green, oh, thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm going to do that real quick. Just so we can get all greens and end on a fully green note, I am going to submit the form using an email address provided by one of our attendees. Perfect. All right, so here we go. I'm going to just put Dub. Yeah, right. These devices can be too smart sometimes. Copy image, copy image address. Great. So just to show these things work consecutively. And I think what'll happen though, even though someone has provided the email address for everything to work, what I wanted to highlight is that sometimes there's just a blockage on the information with these platforms. So, and I honestly, I have to be honest, once a blockage occurs on Brevo, not on Brevo, on make.com, I have to do my research to figure out how to stop this. So even though we did want to end on a note where everything ended in green, the issue here is that I do not know how to remove certain information from the history of the executions. So that's the challenge right here. Is the information that's blocking this from working. I don't know how to remove this information in order to continue the project. So that's the only thing that sucks. But for the most part, what has worked is that we've created a Google form that collects information adds it to the document, which we've seen successfully work here. From there, in our workspace, we've programmed the system to add this contact to Revo, which we have seen. We've seen the contacts be added to the contact list. And from there, once the contact list is added, our end user receives an email that says, "Thank you for adding the content to our campaign," which successfully worked as well. And the last thing that I want to show is that after that email has been sent, what appears is a new note from our what appears is a new note, which is an update from our chain, our make.com workflow. It appears in our workspace. So I'm going to show that real quick as well. So after all of that, a new update appears here where it says new content has been added by whoever the end user is. So that concludes our tutorial, our workshop for Intro to Digital Literacy. As we've seen, even myself, someone who's instructing, there are still things to be learned and to, understand about using tech. But for the most part, tech is all about showing yourself grace. That's one thing that if I could set an example in any regard, tech is all about showing yourself grace and being patient with yourself as you navigate all of these different tools. It can be very frustrating trying to learn about technology. It can be very frustrating trying to grasp new concepts. But if you ever need information or support or guidance on how to navigate tech, feel free to reach out to us at We Are Tech. My email is b@wearetech.education. We are available on Instagram at weare.tech. And last, please go check out our vocabulary sheet that provides. Thank you for the kind words in the chat. Please go check out our vocabulary sheet that can give you more information. It will add more visuals to our vocabulary sheet so that you can, see all the elements on a desktop or a browser that correlate to the information that was covered here in this tutorial. So we knocked out this workshop. Our next workshop, I believe, will be on graphic design. We're going into our tech design series. So tune in for our next bit of workshops. Invite a friend to register to attend the next workshop at wearetech.education.workshops. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Peace.